Hello and welcome to our F1 Racing. We are here at the Marina Bay Street Circuit in Singapore for round 7 of the Division 2 Championship. Very tight circuit, 23 corners around the streets of here. It is honestly quite ridiculous, and the walls are so close and so expecting a lot of flying carbon fibre tonight. I'm your host Ohei. Currently running it solo for the commentary today, which may be difficult. There'll be a lot to keep up with, but regardless, we will see yet races. As we see first cars coming out of the pits, start qualifying. We have a field of 14 drivers here today. A few absences, partially just not be able to win the race, partially driving around the streets or is not necessarily the most fun thing in the world for these drivers. It's definitely a struggle. See what everyone can manage. First cars fly out of the lane. Plans in lockstep. I don't expect them to be trying to go a slipstream. That would be crazy. Never know. Never know. Half the cars currently out on track. Starting outbound. Okay, what should we get the map up so everyone can qualify? It's not do qualifying special. Dennis, the rate is in fact Division 3. I believe we have a couple of substitute drivers with it. As Cookie in the new chat, he's best. My favourite. Is that Jesse? It's as a reward for being my first out of the pits, we'll him as our onboard. First flying lap, but that has not the crash bomb. The flights. Yeah, so I think we have a couple of rookies in the estimate based. Qualifying. Okay, but a few technical problems. Second ball with turbo swerve. There we go. Turn 1. You want to make sure we're trying to avoid this curve on turn 3. Spin you out past anything else. Then it's quite a fast corner. Very tight. As it's not going to flash into that. Around this corner. One, right in, Gabba creates that face 37. And you swing around, long, in, out, charge these drivers. Another flips the field for Jansen Pitch. An iconic feature of having a very tight turn into the back straight DRS there. Trying to get as driven everything as possible here. Before hitting the brakes hard for another tight turn as you head into sector 3 as an Abu Dhabi style. It's now says, I believe because I may have hit the wall there. A little bit that halo crashed. This is 20 and 20 was difficult. Quite slowly actually across here. According to the OneDrive, it is possible to tap flat out. I would have to go across the line 37. And only 5 drivers setting valid laps so far here, as we have another driver spot with was free. Yeah, so 10 drivers still yet to set a time, whether it's team on flying lap or deciding to try again later, whether it's just a matter of not being able to stay valid. Now the track limits on the track are interesting that it would mostly be a factor of if you hit the ball you lose time that way. But actually there are painted lines defining the track limits. Often there's a car's width between that line and so it really is harsh. Weltering goes fastest with 35.4. Great lap there. How are we driving? Great dirty noise. A last minute substitution I has invalidated that is very wait if I get another run at it. Our lap has also laps valid. We'll hop back on board with me on how that's going to help follow this lap. And hopefully a little track map in the stay red. No, not go red. Red happens lap is invalid. Still one of the 8 drivers here who has yet to set a lap. What is going on? Yep, so while I was taking a lot of curb there, very well done. Avoiding the turn curb. Definitely a smart thing to do. Quite a lot of speed there. Quite safe. Earlier. Hard here. Get that very and we have some weather reporters saying that it will be a wet-based festival. Wet-based fast. So there are going to be some significant fireworks at the start here. Heavy rain from the start. It may lighten up later, but the opening laps are the most treacherous around this track. It will not be for our drivers. Nil. Apparently there's a purple sector 2 if our overlay seems to set otherwise. And then very strong section. Very good braking points when to switch on the chicane. That looks a little bit uncertain. Okay. Back end perhaps. Get around that. Flying through the final. A little different from Banks. And Mill goes third fastest with 55.987. What a fantastic from Ferrari driver. Elsewhere, we now only have 5 drivers yet to set laps. Have Opsin is just running the second sector on a lap. Looks to be valid. How it goes. Why does that keep crashing? Anyway. Back into this sector. As obviously said, we first and second sectors. Quite a bit of curb on that. Nice final chicane. Across the line, what lap time will Ops in here? It will be 7th place with a 1:37.8. Keep in mind, a 1:37.8 is 4 seconds off current pace of pole position. But this is the purpose of the banter lap. You really want to get a time down so that you can push on your following laps. This track is so dangerous to drive around that definitely want to just keep. This feline invalidates there. That's very unfortunate. Felix yet to find a valid lap time as one goal one. Again to try and set up another lap around this circuit. As Truce Genes starts a flying lap. Teammate just pulling in pits now. Weltering just coming out of the pits, one at 35. And Genes is not set about it. Oh, very close to the wall there. That was flying on to 364. Keep it clean, take a lot of curve there, stays valid with the lap over the bridge. Turns in, gets down the power as quickly as possible, down to DRS straight. Really equal. These very high downforce setups around Singapore, they look even much drag. We head into the third sector and in the second sector from Truce Genes. Will it be enough to keep 4/10 of the time and move position? Wait a long time to get the power there, and not in this third sector. But will it be enough? An improvement across the line, and it improved by 2/10 for 1:35.6. Holding position for the time being, but I'm sure he'll be hopeful that it will help adapt to the rest of the field. Fine. Back on. It's a speed line. Again, an invalid lap. That's so unfortunate. Yet to set a lap, and none of them are willing to do so. They'll really only have one more chance with 5 minutes left in the session. How that seems to be on an in lap there. Sector. This one will do well too. Just to improve the first sector of this qualifying lap. Oh, what a cameraman. That is round in turn 9, heading down to Singapore Sling. What used to be Singapore Sling. Flies round before switching back. Head. Magnificent. Not improving through the first sector. Second sector, and why? Breaking second sector, and it looks like it is not an improvement. And that is very close to invalidation. That does stay. So maybe a possibility here. Third sector to be absolutely nailed. Oh, a bit of a lock up there into turn 20. The weltering is not in an improvement. Great looking chance at the fastest lap. Almost all of our drivers in the pits. We have just Vado and Grandpa Max, who have spent at least a half hour on track. video has invalidated there. And on Matt, you have in time 0 drivers on valid laps. It's always a bit of a qualifying, even as they go F1 making their final adjustments. A bit of front wing gang, very important around here. Possibly just trying to get yourself hyped up. Final shot for some of these drivers. It will attempt to improve their time. Jump mid for some. They are still looking to set their first lap. One goal, one dream. First set to line. Just turn 9. Getting close. Managing it well. Which back is difficult to judge. You need to get into it. Be careful, and here you want to turn it in. Let you get the power down early. I want many chances to build up speed here. Reduce drag every chance you get, you try and it's possible. It's the third sector. Obviously, they are doing the first 2 sectors. I'll tell you like where in the I think from qualifying just get across the valid lap off the back road bid. Oh, almost losing the back end there. 21. Nice to together across the line, and it will be a 1:36.7 in 8th place. It's the feline though on a lap that has made it. That looked very careful, and in fact this may just be a setup lap. Nevertheless, I think it is still a valid lap. Never mind. It has not set a time on transfer. Then it's straight with less than go. Running turn 21. This will be a valid lap as with Shadow. As 12 session. And Dennis the Great from Division 3 actually the top 10 with a 1:37.4. That's a fantastic lap for us. Teammate Weltering has significantly, proved himself in it. I can that I'll just that. There you go, hopefully that's better. I can't actually turn my voice up anymore, already on full, but that's the game dancing on. Player. And check flag has fallen in qualifying. Weltering is green, the first sector. Happy with that. Oh, not the line there. Christian is actually still on an outlap here, according to my overlay. Has not been able to get no chance as Mill has jumped with a 1:35.4 into P2, just off Weltering's time. Weltering though has gone purple to the second sector, and so that 35.4 could be coming down quite a lot here as we round turns 20 and 21, and then the final couple of corners. Try and keep it pinned, lifting a little bit across the line, and it is not an improvement there. Sure, Weltering would have been hoping to get a little bit better than that. However, it is still a lap, and is still a time in the game. Playing tricks on me, Codemasters. That's not sure. Most of the drivers here seem to be going to show we will ride on board. It's whose case this lap is valid and made it over for the trick by the belt, and actually just behind the car of Weltering as completed here. It's actually maybe a problem if Weltering is being driven by the AI and may not be able to move out of the way if this is an attempt at a flying lap. Have to see. Oh, it looks like Cruiser Genesis is driving in anger. And the AI, I think, has impeded him there. Which is very unfortunate. Second set to line and it is not. That must be so frustrating for the power driver. Being impeded there by an AI driver. You can't even shout at anyone in the chat. In the comments. There's no one to blame but Codemaster. Validate on 2021 as much as possible to see if you can get a couple of ends. But it's not looking right though. Never mind! As qualifying comes to an end, Cruiser Genesis has actually got onto pole position. Where did that come from? Cruiser Genesis getting on pole position by a tenth and a half with a 1:35.2. Fair play to the McLaren driver. And the rest of the field have weltering on the row with a 1:35.4 ahead of Mill and Nordy, Outlap and Turboswerth in the Red Bulls, third row, Oa Shadow and $1 Dream, Ford Warrior in P8. Jabba and Dennis the Great rounding out the top 10, a fantastic performance from the Division 3 substitute there. As we wait for the head into the race session, you can see there is a substantial amount of rainfall on the track here. Yeah, I'm trying, Timmy. I just need to do that. You can see how heavy the rain is. And that will be a nightmare for our drivers here. As head onto the formation lap. And here they go. Track map now. As those are treacherous on the streets of Singapore. I think every driver here likes to be starting on the full wet tyres. And indeed, that is the only choice you can make in weather like this. You can see even on the formation lap the spray that is kicked up by the train of cars ahead makes it so much more difficult to see if you compare the view that Aralac has in just P5 compared to the clear sight that Cruiser has in and that will be a significant concern for the drivers. This is not the particularly fun AWS fitting wet tyres, I guess. People in chat asking about the presence of Dennis the Great in this session. I have not seen anything about this, but I'd have to assume that it's not just him being a streaker. It is, in fact, being a substitute for the AlphaTauri team. Of course, being a Division 3 Red Bull driver perhaps lines up with Division AlphaTauri driver. That may be how the Red Bull program works, if anyone can figure that out. Line back up on the start grid. Some of these drivers have a very difficult task ahead of them. Navigate 31 laps in treacherous conditions and a very tight Singapore Grand Prix circuit. They call it Marina Bay. If these drivers, it'll feel like they are in the bay itself. As the final car lines up on the grid to start this race. Five lights. It is lights out, and away we go. A very tentative start from everyone here. Who has managed to get the best start? It looks like it is Cruz Jones being able to hold it, but Weltering does try and fend off. Tries to make a challenge into turn one there. It doesn't seem to work, and for the most part at the front, everyone has stayed in the same position. Opsin has fallen to the back, but looks to be moving cleanly, and we may have had a clean start from everyone here. And I speak too soon. We have a yellow flag in sector 1, and it is Jazzy Bingman, and that is some carbon fibre flying across the track. It is not from Jazzy Bingman. It is, in fact, from, I cannot tell who that's from. Dennis the Great? It is the end plate missing on Dennis the Great's car. And Jazzy Binman is well back here. But his front wing looks intact. So, be interesting. Meanwhile, Chris Jones has already broken away by more than a second and a half to Weltering. We're barely 2 sectors into this race. And that is already an astonishing lead. Chris Jones looking like a very experienced driver in these wet weather conditions. Not needing to worry about the spray from other cars, not needing to worry about whether the car in front is out. Kuzo just checking out of this race with a clean track ahead. The gap is already remarkable. Arilak and Wondol1 Dream battling side by side as Rado picks up a couple of 5-second penalties there. One for one for a collision with I don't know who else, but Rashado is falling down the field significantly, and we have a virtual safety car deployed on the track. I honestly don't know how to follow everything that's going on here. It has been a very chaotic start to this race. Rashado is wounded. He'll have to pull into the pits. There will be a few drivers needing new front wings here, as the British car is already back. And we are green flag running again. We have 4 drivers peeling into the pits here by the look of things. Rashado is definitely one of the losers there, starting in the top 10 and being held for a long time due to those penalties. And now my game is confused what's going on. Because we have Tuzo Jonas, who is leading the race, but Weltering has managed to close up a gap here. It's honestly quite close to the McLaren driver. I know the timing tower on the side. There's this battle for P4. It is in fact the drivers have pitted for new and are not leading the race. Once again, blame Codemasters. Weltering is actually able to stay within fighting range of Chris Jones. Chris Jones is still very skilled in these conditions, but for the most part, it's not creating out as massive of a gap as was at the start. That it looks like both drivers at the front of the track have made it through on damage, as Weltering actually gets a little bit slidey through that corner. Very interesting to see. Look down the field to see what the state of everyone's front wing is. Laps. It seems that everyone at the front is mostly unscathed. Wondol1 Dream, definitely an interesting sight here as Cruz Jones has pulled into the pits, as has Weltering. That is remarkable. And it's already the intermediate crossover point, they think. Wow, what a turn of events. Cruiser Jones and Weltering both pull into the pits for intermediate tyres, as has Jabba. And this could be a crucial stage of this race, because if they are able to gain time on the cars ahead, then they can really check out. But if these are not the correct tyres at this point in the race, they're just going to fall back in touch to the track as Cruiser Jones actually goes wide there on the exit of turn 3. It looks like it did not touch the wall, but that was definitely not the sight you'd expect from a car that's under perfect control, of course. You would expect the Inters be performing well so far. Jabba, but they did not actually pit for intermediates, they have pit for Dennis the Great has come into a front window, as Cruiser Dennis is catching up to the back of Jazzy Binman. Was caught by a good tenths in this lap. It may have been the correct call. And Weltering is staying close behind. This is definitely an intriguing battle in changeable conditions. We have to see if these intermediate tyres are able to let as we cross over the Anderson Bridge. There's not enough room to pass here. Cruiser Dennis is going to pass there. Wow, what a move into that tight corner. As Binman and Weltering behind, also battling it out side by side. And Binman has the inside line, but those intermediate tyres are just performing so much better. He's able to slice round the outside. That is an excellent strategy call from these two drivers who have just cemented their lead near the front of this pack. And we may see at the end of this lap, Mill has pulled into the pits, cut past Fiat Sofia, and this track is drying out quick. Auralac and One Goal One Dream have chosen to stay out. This may end up costing if the track is drying out as fast as it seems here. And there's currently 4 cars at the front still running on these intermediate tyres. On these wet tyres. Fitzgerald and Gentleman have pitted as well, and it seems that the cars behind are likely to do the same. We have a yellow flag in sector B, as like to one of possibly the wet compound runners not be able to hold on to there. And despite this early strategy call that seems to have been bet, the Jonas and Weltering have not managed to make much of a gap. It's still just a second to Mill. And of course, the crossover point between intermediates and wets does tend to be a lot kinder than the crossover between intermediates and dry weather tyres. You have a lot more time to make the call, and really, as long as you're not completely off, you're not going to lose that much time. It's just a matter of whether you prefer to be on, well, on a more aggressive choice if you pit for intermediates early. Cruiser Jones is slicing past Opsin. Nice little buffer there for, well, once Cruiser Jones makes it past Turbo Swerve, there'll be a nice buffer of clean air, but we can expect Turbo Swerve to pit at the end of this lap regardless. And so it would just be to try and not get impeded, that Weltering catch up. You're on to there's not many places to pass here. Cruiser Jones looks to be lining something up, is not able to make the move in that chicane. It's so tight around these corners, and Turbo Swerve, who is just drifting back to the pits, is going to hold up Cruiser Jones by a significant amount here. And there you see Turbo Swerve pulls off to the side. He knows he's cooked. One Goal One Dream actually has elected to stay out on the wet weather tyres. Is currently leading this race by 10 seconds. But I have to wonder if that is the correct strategy call. That is a very, very interesting decision to make here. And you can see the fastest lap times from the intermediate runners. Good 3 or 4 seconds faster than One Goal One Dream. And you'd have to think that the only way this makes sense for One Goal is if he's trying to hold out, possibly straight from the wets to the rise, but that is an almost impossible decision to justify here, as Grandpa Matt picked up a 3-time penalty for very easy outside the track limits. Yeah, I mean, Cruiser Jenner's made a good call early, well to entire to match, which is definitely a sensible strategy call if you're fighting for the lead. Cruiser Jenner's just able to cut through the field, and even if the tyre delta was significant to the wet compound runner, there was still some incredible move made there from the McLaren driver. I would love to see if there's some onboards of those moves. Those would be a fantastic couple of laps to go back and watch, and to see a masterclass of racing in the rain. And now, after about a second to Weltering, building up a gap to Mill well. The field generally spaced out a fair amount at this point in time. I think it's definitely sensible to not try and get right into some spots in conditions, and want to try and make the right call on the strategy onto dry tyres possibly, away from stage. As One Dream has again elected to stay out on track. That is definitely an interesting decision, as we see Cruiser Jenner's drifting wide through the final couple of corners there. That will likely be a warning, and Cruiser Jenner's has dipped under the 2-minute mark for the first time in the race, as Wondol has in fact pitted for intermediate tyres and got back into those wets definitely were on lap or two long. And now, despite a wet start to this race, every car in the field is now running tyres. And Weltering is actually a very good job of staying on the back of Cruiser Jenner's, having to take liberties with track limits to being a decent pace around the track, and it could lead to some penalties being picked up later in the race. So much easier to put penalties in the race, and so it's drivers to watch out for, especially if there's an expectation of a safety car near the end. How's it cut? But from you expect a safety car to come, then really just have to be hoping that you have driven clean up until that point. The penalties could make a massive difference at the end of the race with the field. Yeah, well, Weltering and Cruiser Jenner just locked in a battle in lockstep. A yellow flag falls at the start finish line by the look of things. Is it Shader? Running cleanly. Roadmasters. Yeah, quite gapped here. The closest gap to really watch is at the front of this race, which is honestly incredible. It just shows how tight the performance is here between the top drivers. As Weltering has slowed down and has pulled into the pits. Now, is this a change for driver? Surely this isn't a change for driver with the tyres. This is pink. And it is a change to mediums. Oh my word. This is such a chaotic start to this race. And Weltering has made the call so early for dry weather tyres. I cannot imagine any scenario where that's the correct move. But we're sure as hell going to watch this lap, because I cannot believe this call. Weltering's locked in behind One Dream and is already sliding around. Lost a second on Renault car ahead, and you can just see it's so difficult to get the power down here for the AlphaTauri. Weltering may well have just made any chance of winning this race. It's so tough. I'm trying to work out whether it's possible that Jeff had something to do with this, but it seemed like the sort of situation that he influenced by. I think Weltering felt the track getting faster and faster, thought that the guy with the tyres might be here, wanted to try and make a strategic decision to get around Cruiser Jenner's, and it has not paid off at all. I think we can expect to see him falling far down the field by the time the rest of the change for dry weather tyres. That's so unfortunate for Weltering. That really does hurt to see. It partially hurts to see because he was in the middle of one of the most exciting battles track. As Cruiser Genesis goes fastest on those intermediate tyres at 157.7. Weltering, just some spoilers here, will be nowhere near that. As you can see, Jazzy Binman has caught up. Mediums are not finding any grip here, and the virtual safety car is deployed as Ricciardo is out of this race. And now these guys must their speed. I'm sure some of the drivers will have already been at much reduced speed in these conditions. But obviously the virtual safety car does give drivers a chance at a cheaper pit stop. The question is, will it be enough? Weltering has pulled into the pits at the end of that lap, taking the cheap pit stop, presumably to switch back onto intermediate tyres. And that was a horrible decision. Oh dear. As you can see, he's likely to actually be passed by his teammate, the Division 3 substitute of Dennis the Great, and there it is. Weltering comes out behind that car and outside of the points from P2 on the gearbox of the race leader here. And there really isn't much in the way of silver lining here. The tyres are a tiny bit fresher than everyone else's, but I don't expect that to make much of a difference here. Go on board with Dennis the Great. Right in the back of Felix the Feline, Division 3 substitute and the newest driver on Division 2 grid. No, that's the lie. Grandpa Matt is the newest driver. Brand new this week, but Felix the Feline last week in Austria. Making a very fresh Alfa Romeo team. The Alpha Tauri of our Division 3 of Dennis the Great, almost running into the back of Felix's gearbox as they run down the DRS straight. Of course, there isn't any DRS here with these conditions, and Dennis the Great is able to make the move stick. Now, in the dirty air here, you will be struggling to get. And you have to make sure don't try and get on the throttle too early, because that can be killer in these conditions. Weltering has caught up to the back of his teammate. You can see the pace difference drivers have. Weltering is really a class above and has the pace to be at the front of the field as he was. Strategy call there was awful. Like, I'm trying to be kind here, but that call was truly terrible. There's no way to really justify it. It was still raining. If you're in 2, there's not really that much to take a risky call here. See Martin and Grandpa Matt and Jabba all maybe they're going onto dry weather tyres. It looks like Martin has chosen. And for the cars at the back of the grid, see why they might take the gamble. They have decided that intermediates are the best tyre they can have right now. And the dries just are not ready. They are a long way from being ready here. And Weltering will likely be left wondering what could have been around this track. Cruiser Genesis, that's another fastest lap. Mill is catching up to the back of him. Less than 3 seconds back now. Passing, actually lapping his teammate coming out of the pits here. Only 10 laps into this race. Difficult conditions that there's a big difference in these. And worth mentioning with that is that ghosting is disabled for Division 2, and so if you come up against a lapped car, you have to pass them legitimately and have to really hope that you don't do anything to let you in these conditions. Every driver will have to be so careful navigating those cars. As Dennis the Great is still locked in an impressive battle with Felix the Feline. We had the interruption of Weltering flying through the past both of them, and he has set a 156.4. Weltering has a great deal of pace there, was perhaps just frustrated being stuck behind Chris Dennis, not being able to make a move here, as Dennis tries into turn 1, hits the inside line, looks like the move has stuck here, and Felix had to slot in behind and wait for another chance to get back past the AlphaTauri driver. And this is a really fantastic performance of Dennis the Great. Coming in the last minute as a substitute from Division 3, and already proven himself to have quite a significant amount of pace around the streets of Singapore. As we look to Weltering, who has actually gapped Dennis Ray by 9 seconds already. Weltering is flying, is catching up to the back of Opsin, and I do have to wonder whether he had this pace available. It's frustrated to be stuck behind Chris Jenner's, not able to make a move there against such a talented driver, and tried to undercut onto the dry weather tyres. It has not worked out. Weltering is now barely in the points, and although I expect him to climb back to achieve a solid points finish, I don't think he'll be anywhere near the race win here. 2 extra pit stops, along with a very slow lap on dry weather tyres. That's, we're talking a minute. Although a little bit saved in the virtual safety car, so it's not impossible. But it would need a safety car to bring you back into the running here, which is definitely not something to count out. Just see Weltering is driving so well in his intermediate tyres. Has the fastest lap by more than a second over Chris Jenner's. Has to take a little off-track excursion there. Turn 2. Trying to find a way around Opsin here in the racing point. Fastest lap is second lower than Weltering. Weltering going for it inside of this kink, gets the move done very cleanly for the braking zone. The moves up. And Dennis the Great, in a similar fashion to Weltering, has to feel his feline and just broken away. Definitely the case in these conditions that after a big difference in pace might not be enough to get you around a car. You need to fight as hard as possible to make that gap, and then once that's done, you have the clear track ahead of you and take off into. Next up for Weltering is Turbo Swerve 60 in the Red Bull car. 10 seconds on the road. We have a report from 413 in the chat, listening in to the drivers, and is expected 5 or 10 minutes of rain. Although, of course, once the rain stops, you do time for the track to dry. I'm talking to you, Weltering. Don't make the call. And actually, best, but that it's just cloud right now. I'm definitely seeing rain here. Weltering has a 55.8. That's fantastic. As Grandpa Max is out of this race. Yellow flag in sector 2 here. If we can spot a stricken Alfa Romeo around this track, look like there's anything obvious. We are green again. weltering lost a amount in that delta. Really, all of these cars are fairly spaced out. You'll see how one door, one dream getting on. Of course, the keyboard warrior making quite a late switch from the wet weather tyres to the intermediates. Is currently a significant distance away from any car ahead or behind, so that call has cost too much, like I said. The crossover between intermediates and wets is very forgiving. Far more forgiving than that crossover between guys. The sharp inputs on the steering wheel and the throttle trace is definitely not what you want in wet weather like this. Trying to find traction. You want to eat the throttle so much. Honda just does not have that option. Of course, the assists this game are very nice in giving drivers access to traction control and and other helping hands, but it's still so difficult if you're on a keyboard to drive at a pace like this. And I honestly find it incredible. You have a driver fighting it out near the top of Division 2 with that input method. Looking down the current state of the field, everyone, let's see who the big winners and losers are here. So far, Jazzy Binman has jumped up 6 places. 12 start. Currently running 6th place. Here's the Feline. Started last place on the group, has made up to 11th. Keeping the nose clean, yes. Have One Goal One Dream has jumped 8 to P5. And in terms of people that got down the field, Java has not had the best time of things. We have 2 DNF so far with Grandpa Matt and Shado. And weltering started P2, was running P so close, Aaron, in the opening stages. Followed him in early onto intermediate tyres, which seemed to be a good strategy call. Then tried to make a call onto medium tyres and was just left out in the rain. It's definitely not great. We have Grandpa Match checking in the chat. I mean, it's definitely not kind conditions for your first race in this championship. Be faced with heavy rain around the or latest track on our calendar. And there's definitely there's really nothing to do. Weltering has forced the back of Turbo Swerve, catching up 10 seconds in the space of a few laps, and another purple lap hit. See the flying pace of this AlphaTauri up against the safety car of the Red Bull. It's behind here, but it's trying to get a good run. Long straight. In the overtake. In wet conditions, you tend to have a lot of overtake available. You don't want to use it too much. You get so much wheel slip if you try and deploy it early. You generate a lot, so when you need to make a pass, you have a lot to fight with. Weltering using that full effect to fly past Turbo Swerve and into 7. You can see current state of the pit stops, everyone in the field making the one stop from wets to intermediates. The exceptions being Dennis the Great, Martin Jabba, Matt and Shado, who have made extra stops, presumably for new front wings, and then Weltering, who made 2 extra stops, which to medium that. I hate to keep going on about it, but it really is. It's the main talking point in the opening half of this. It was a very bold decision not working out for the AlphaTauri driver. Lost him at this point 5 places, and close to 45 seconds by looking. One Goal, One Dream has pulled into the pits. And it is for medium tyres. We have another car making the gamble. And I find it fascinating that it's One Goal, One Dream. As if Binman and Weltering have done the same thing. Perhaps the track has improved. I mean, I don't see any rain falling right now, so it's possible that it's the correct call. A lot of the cars here doing this. Tassie Binman forced to double stat, loses the place to Weltering in the pits, and another place to Opsin. Tassie Binman has not come out of that well-needed double stat those tyres. That is unfortunate. But I am very surprised that One Goal, One Dream was the first to make that call, considering One Goal was, of course, the last car out on the wet tyres at the start of this race. A bit bolder. I mean, with the intermediates, once the track's too dry for them, they will just run out of any grip because you have less surface exposed to the road. It's so difficult to keep hold of them. A yellow flag in sector 3. It looks like it is possibly one of the cars on their in-lap on these intermediate tyres. We have Kusagenes pulls in for the medium compound, as we expected. Bill follows in behind. Muddy is going to make the same call, as will Aralak. And so we have now hit the crossover point, where the medium compound tyres or dry weather tyres are finding more grip than the... See how Weltering performs on dry weather tyres. Of course, they may be faster than not me, but we have optimal conditions here. It can still be difficult to hold on to this car as the track dries out. So have to be careful. And there we go, from race control we see the DRS has been enabled as Weltering goes deep into that corner. Timberman is not far behind, definitely gain time on that. But there we go, the stewards have enabled guard production system for the first time in this race, which is the true sign. The track is dry and we are ready to go racing around Singapore. Opsin and Dennis the Great now pulling into the pits on their intermediates. Making that call relatively late, as you can see. AWS is also certain it was the correct call. Weltering has picked up a time penalty for track limits. Here's the Feline has also opted to head into the pits. So at the front of the field, we have Kusagenes, who is leading by 7 seconds, which is remarkable. Gap wasn't. I think the gap was about 5 seconds on the intermediates. Been slowly building, possibly his driver, the tyres favouring him so much. There is a time penalty picked up there. And here you can see Delta's Jesse Binman actually had gained 6 places, now only 5 as well to make the charge for the field. But Jesse Binman made a call at a perfect time there. One Goal, One Dream also a great strategy call. And the truth is that it seemed that all cars have made the right choice. They've switched at just about the perfect time. And now Yale is on medium tyres. They can battle. Dennis the Great, who is now well clear of Felix the Feline, the rival from earlier on in the racing, is now right behind Opsin. Race into the third sector here. Dennis the Great possibly being the first driver on the circuit to be able to use the assistance of the DRS to get that reduction in drag on this downforce. As you can see, One Goal set a lap for you to get. I want to get this view up because we're going to see lap times being set all across the board. Weltering there with a 1:49.9. on the medium on this still fairly damp track. Because the longer these cars run on the surface, the heat they generate will be enough to dry out the track, almost like a hairdryer. And so we can expect the times to just keep going down and down and down until you race. Now the question here is that will drivers be attempting to bring the tyres to the end of the race? I think it's likely. As you can see, the tyres are only a couple of laps old. You just stretch them 70 laps or so to the end of the race, as Nordi sets a 1.7, just about. Our gets the pack solidly into that range. Yeah, I mean, 18 laps is... It should be possible for the tyres, but a typical dry strategy would be a 2-stop round here. Soft to you'd only be asking for about 12 laps on them. So, they see some drivers try and push a little bit harder on soft at the end of the race, which, as well as letting them push on their tyres now, it would give them a brand new set of the fastest tyres available. For them to set a fastest lap right at the end. As Opsy puts a time penalty trying to defend here from Dennis the Great. Dennis the Great is going so quickly, gets DRS here, and just using to stay right on the gearbox of Opsy. They come through the opening corners. There's a long back straight after this next one. Dennis might try and use major pass here to get a good exit here. Get on the throttle. There's enough grip with a dry track to get a solid amount of traction. Dennis the Great is 3/10 back, is gaining. Opsin moves across to the apex, so Dennis swerves around the outside and makes the move into that turn at the end of sector 1. It's fantastic, and already lap times are down to the 44s. We've improved by about 5 seconds so far, and we have not been on the dry tyres for long. And now Dennis the Great, we're looking to try and make a gap to Opson here, because while before you could slowly improve your times, get the other car away from you, know that if you can't get a second away, they'll have DRSs dragging them back into the fight. If they keep getting dragged into the fight, you need to fight and keep pulling your ERS and your tyres. And so you want to get them out of your sights as you can. And it looks like Dennis Strait may have been able to do that. Opsin is right on the 1 second mark. Well, between is a 1-4 in the other AlphaTauri. Flying as always, still in P6, catching up to One Goal One Dream at a good pace, is likely to make the move into P5. And here we go, Dennis Strait and Opsin. So close, Opsin rounds the final corner and does have DRS on this straight. A little bit of a helping hand, but of course the real place to get the move done will be on the next straight. Opsin is now just 3/10 away coming into here, so almost the same position as Dennis Strait was in the previous lap. Wanted to try and get that, and the safety car has been deployed as Jabba retires from the race. And right when Opsin was looking to try and set up a move there, the race has been neutralised, and Cruiser Jenez, just passing the pits, has pulled in immediately for new tyres. Cannot blame him in the slightest. Will it be soft or a fresh set of mediums? It will be a fresh set of mediums. And now the question of whether they can make it to the end is resolved. It should be fairly simple for these cars to make it the remaining 12 laps. And there we go. Mill just parked up there. That is a tragic sight to see as well. Has picked up a 5-second penalty under safety car for exceeding track limits. That is definitely wasn't expecting to see. And what has happened here is that Nordi has opted to stay out on his slightly older medium tyres. It's promoted him into the race lead. So with it being such a short amount of time since these tyres went on, you don't need to use safety car to get a free stop if you feel like you make an advantage by staying out and keeping track position. And here Nordi has chosen to stay out on the tyres and take the race lead, as we almost have a collision under safety car between the two. Drivers have to be careful, there's not a lot of room to escape to the under safety car. Genesis is running so close to trying to fill his mirror to remind him what kind of battle he's dealt himself into here. Turbo Swerve and James Straight have decided to pick for soft compound tyres. Those will struggle to make it to the end of this race. They'll be in a very difficult position. They'll be hoping the safety car stays out for as long as possible, because the soft compound tyres really do fall off immediately around this track. You really only get half a dozen laps before they really start to hurt. And I like to have to try and run the equivalent of 10 racing laps on the tyres. That will be painful. Yeah, so Nordi currently leading the race on the older medium compound tyres. Cruisiness and Mill behind on fresh tyres. The rest of the field interspersed. Two strategies. And Nordi is going to have to cautious serve those tyres as much as possible. But that may give Cruisiness the move here, as Weltman has chosen to go into the pit lane, pits up a 5-second penalty for there. Already be serving a 5-second penalty, but it's even track limits. So Weltman's race really not going too well. It looks like Weltman saw a gap behind and goes to take the fresh soft compound tyres again. They will struggle, and someone is round. It's Martin in the Williams, I believe a lapped car gone round. And you really don't want to be a lapped car in the safety car queue. It's not a pleasant experience at all, knowing that as soon as the race is underway, blue flags flying all around you, park up at the side of the road at the field past. Of course, Bert Mylander, the F1 safety car driver, is able to let lapped cars through once the hazard is clear, as directed by the race steward. Unfortunately, virtual Bert Mylander is controlled by Codemasters, and Codemasters aren't particularly masterful, put it that way. Division 3 driver, I definitely do not want to comment on shenanigans that can occur on the safety car. Dennis the Great, I'm sure, would love to tell you, because he won that chaotic race in the street. But count points, because we just have to keep making the race going. Here it seems that things have remained mostly well behaved, because we did have that spin from Martin, but it looks like there's a front pack of about 7 cars. Martin is just out trapped here, and then the rest of the field is spread out throughout the track after making pit stops. I have not seen notifications saying safety cars coming in, and so we will have another lap of yellow flag racing. Well, yellow flag running, hardly a race. And of course the tyres will be cooling down here. Maybe that is why you see all this week. James is opting not to. He is just hate the tyres that are cold. You can just try and warm them up right before it's underway, because while you're under safety car, you can sit back and not put any excessive load on those tyres. And I think he knows that with the car ahead being on older medium tyres, keeping his tyres as fresh as possible is going to be the key to making this move quickly and hopefully gapping Mill. Okay. So I think that's how Tuesday is going to need to approach this. he's not really expected to be battling Nordy for the race win here. Those medium tyres will likely not be able to keep Cruiser Jones behind, especially with the pace that the McLaren has. But he knows that Mill is right behind on fully fresh mediums, and if he gets held up even a second longer than he needs to, it may give Mill a chance to make a move into P2. So what he wants to do is get that move done immediately, hope the Haas can hold back Ferrari and make a nice buffer to a race win around 4. But it's always easy to say that as we see Opsin, as it looks like tired from the race in the pits here. As the safety car is going to be twinning at the end of this lap, and we will go green again. Let's see how Nordy decides to bunch the field up here. Of course, it is the obligation of the leader that they can go whenever they like, so long as they do not pass the safety car before the control line. And then we're not allowed to overtake another car. We reach a green flag, and here the Dennis backs off a lot there, head to the Haas, and causes a couple of accidents. Like Miller and Cruiser came together. I'm not sure if that's really something that McLaren should have done. It's the Haas ahead that's dictating the pace here. And once the Haas goes, the field has to go. So let's see. And there it is, the call has been made. Nordy rounds the final corner at full racing speed, and we are underway around the Marina Bay Circuit into turn 1. It hasn't been done. One Dream has fought past his teammate in the Renault on the safety car restart. But just when your teammates are fighting, you have to make sure that you stay on top of things. And that is Weltering. That is Weltering, who is around, and his wing is completely gone. What a disaster for the AlphaTauri driver. This race just keeps going from bad to worse. He's now at the back of this pack, needing a new front wing, and will almost certainly be finishing no better than P10, unless some other cars also need replacement of fiber. As One Dream has made off exceptionally well on this restart, up to 4th place, and Nordy, in fact, has made a gap of more than a second to Cruiser Jones. And Cruiser Jones is not under much pressure from Mill here. Mill is also a second behind. Nordy has a lot of pace, it looks like, on these dry weather tyres. He's trying to make the most of it while those tyres have fight left in them. Will he be able to hold Cruiser Jones back past a second? We'll have to see. It's been one lap of racing now. We have one more lap of racing before the DRS gets enabled, and Cruiser will be hoping to get within a second by then. The fastest lap being set, the track has just kept improving under the safety car, and it's so quick now, it's so dry. It's bet times equivalent to what you would see in a typical dry race. And look, Jazz is gaining, is within 9/10. He's fighting exceptionally well. Stay on the back of Nordy, and he'll also be behind rearview mirror to make sure that Mill doesn't get within a second either. Currently, Jones has DRS and his opponent doesn't, which is the exact situation he wants to be in, and we see Weltering has to pull into the pit lane for a new. And here Cruiser Jones is just gaining so quickly, almost looks to make him that hairpin. Can't quite make it on. Maybe a good place to try next lap with his DRS down that back straight. But I think Cruiser Jones is just hoping to be a little bit patient. Hoping Nordy doesn't go too slowly so that Cruiser Jones has the buffer to keep that DRS. And then once the DRS does get enabled at the end of this lap, he can make the move have a little bit of lag. I think that'll round the final couple of corners. Start finish line. Mill is 1.2 seconds behind, not in DRS range, and as DRS enables, Cruiser Genesis is the fastest lap. Mill actually improves, but it's not by much, it's only by a tenth or two. And the DRS detection zone for this long straight is right about now. Mill is not in range. Cruiser Genesis is in range. Activates the DRS. So much of the drag you have on this car around the circuit, but Nordy has such a good launch from that corner. Is able to hold the gap steady at 4/10. And as you can see, Cruiser Genesis is actually almost completely out of ERS here. That will be killer for the McLaren driver. Nordy is also in a similar position, but Mill has been managing it excellently. Is still at about 70% charge, and so he may be able to use that to stay in this fight as we turn around this hairpin where Cruiser is only going to pass last lap. We have DRS again, but he's not able to gain that much. He's trying to use his overtake, but there's not much overtake left. He doesn't have the gap behind to try and charge for a couple of laps. He needs to make this as soon as possible. If he doesn't, Mill will use his ERS, get on the back, and he may not be able to shake him. Around the final couple of corners, Cruiser Genesis is trying to take as much of the track as possible, cutting it slightly in places, to kind of push and push and push. But Mill is getting closer. Nordy is not able to get past Nordy. Nordy is just staying at the front of the pack here. On those old medium tyres, they may fall off near the end. By that point, it might be too late for Cruiser Genesis. Mill is now just about within a second. Has he been able to get DRS on this back straight? Yes, he has. That light on the right hand side of the steering wheel shows you that rear wing is wide open. And Mill just gains a tenth on the McLaren ahead. Just able to stay behind now, and it's a 3-car train. Cruiser Genesis made a mistake. Going slowly. And Mill looking to try and make an attack. Not going to be close enough around this corner. He isn't. As we head on to Anderson Bridge. But Cruiser Genesis is in danger of dropping out of the DRS of Nordy here. And clearly Mill has incredible pace and efficiency with that ERS. Opens up the DRS. But Cruiser Genesis still has the benefit. Cannot make a move instead. We have barely 5 laps to go in this race. And it is all to play for. Well trained pits with 3-second time penalty. Really not having a good race there. Bondall still not actually making a gap to Aralac here. Aralac half second back. They've fallen away from the free. Aralac does have older tyres. Cruiser Genesis pits with a time penalty. That could end up deciding things, as we said. As Cruiser Genesis tries to make an attack on the start-finish straight, it's not quite close enough. He's going to try and dive down the inside turn 1. No. Decides that it's not worth the risk. Sits in behind us. Going to try and make a move on this straight. But Mill is half a second away. And it's a 3-car battle at the front here. Cruiser Genesis 4/10 back. Mill 2/10 back from that. They go side by side going into this corner. Mill goes for the inside line. Cannot get close enough to make the move stick. And the cars stay where they are for the time being. But you can see all 3 of these drivers are fighting tooth and nail. Nordy just trying to stay out of trouble. Trying to stay ahead of these 2 cars. And the 2 cars on fresher tyres, knowing this could be for the race win. If those medium tyres at the front fall off. Genesis trying to sit right on the back of Nordy. He runs a bit wide there. The DRS assistance again. Not able to make a path. It's just closing the gap that much more. 3 cars separated by a second at the front of this field. around the final corners. They know they have another 2 DRS straights coming up. Another 2 chances to try and make a move there if they can get a good run into zone. Degenez 2 tenths back, 3 tenths back, falling, Hill holding. The 2 cars behind with the DRS, not able to make anything of it. They'll sit behind. And it's the long straight afterwards as Cruz Degenez has a sniff up the inside. Can't get anything done. Inside turns to the outside, Nordy covers him off, but they are so close. Mill pulls out, Cruz Degenez pulls out, they are going 3 wide down the straight. Mill has the run, gets into first, Cruz Degenez just about gets found and Nordy spins. 3 cars try and go into the corner side by side, it's not quite enough. Nordy has fallen back into the pack, but Mill has made it past Cruz Degenez and from 3rd place makes it into the race lead. And now we'll be trying to check out of this and win the race for Ferrari. What an unbelievable move. The pack was 2 or 3 tenths apart going into that DRS straight. Adrianas now has DRS, but it's not enough to get close. Mill is 7 tenths ahead, and we're looking to make that gap wider, try and break Adrianas out of the DRS, and cruise to victory on track at Singapore. And Cruz Degenez is really struggling, trying to push as much as possible to stay on the back of Mill. Running right up against the wall, taking a little bit of track limits. More than a second back here. Was he a second back at the activation zone? It looks like he was. Cruz Degenez does not have DRS. And this zone is really trying to close the gap to let you set up for that straight, the long straight. Cruz Degenez is closer though. It's now only 9 tenths back. That looks like it will be good enough for DRS. And it is. Now I'm going to try and see if he can make a move. But he, again, is completely out of overtake. There is nothing left for this McLaren to fight with. And it's cost him a possible chance at the race win. Mill, as you can see, still has a good 20-30% there. But he doesn't need it anymore. He had it in the earlier part of this battle. He could use it when he needed it to get past Nordy and Cruz Degenez. Nordy unfortunately currently running in P5, being attacked by Turbo Swerve there. Is his car wounded from that altercation? It looks like he may still have his full front wing, but just got turned around in that battle. I'll have to see if the stewards have any comment on that at the end of this race. It's so unfortunate for the car, who made a good strategy call to try and fight for the race win. And fight he did. But it's not quite enough. He's gone around and he's now still in the upper half of the points, but not where you'd have wanted to end this race. As Mill around the final corner onto the penultimate lap of this race, there is a battle brewing for the final podium position. Aralat and One Goal One Dream. Right now, Aralat on older medium compound tyres, but has the DRS. Maybe try to get a move done here behind Turbo Swerve in the other Red Bull, but to get past Nordy. There's still a lot to play for here. As Mill actually extends the gap to 2 seconds here. Aralat comes in hot into that turn, has to back off a little bit, opens the DRS, pulls to pull inside of One Goal One Dream, takes the inside line into this corner, hits the brakes. Oh, and they touch, they go side by side. And all the tyres of Aralat just don't really have the stopping power to pull that move off. And he has to fall in behind again. But he's putting One Goal One Dream under immense pressure here at the final podium spot. Come over the bridge. There's another DRS zone coming up. Aralat knows it, One Goal knows it. It's about getting a good exit here and trying to just carry speed. Aralat doesn't have much ERS to play with. One Goal One Dream is on a similar point here, so he's trying an even battle other than the tyre delta. But Aralat is behind, and Aralat will know only has 3 more DRS zones on this track to play with. His time is running out as Mill rounds the final corner to start the final lap of the Singapore Grand Prix. Trujan is now 3 seconds behind. May even be enough for Mill to win this race with a penalty. That McLaren car has just not quite got enough fight back here. As Turboswerve has fallen back behind Jazzy Binman. Let's go back to this battle. Aralat looked to make a move into that corner. Going down this back straight, has DRS open. But he's 3/10 back, it may not be enough. Gotta settle for now. But he knows that he's made this move to get onto the podium. We're trying to find any opportunity. Can't wait for a DRS zone at a stage of the race like this. You have to make the move, and you have to make it now. We come through the Singapore sling, no room there. He's not close enough there. Coming over the bridge, trying to set up for this DRS straight. The final chance to get to use a full DRS straight. Try and make a move stick, but he's a long way back. It's a good exit, but it's not enough. One Dream does a fantastic exit as well. As we head into the final sector, Wondell actually runs a little bit wide there. Doesn't quite open the door enough for Aralat as they come around into a very square section. We come back over Mill, who does tap the wall there coming through the final corner, but will round these corners to take the Singapore Grand Prix. Cruiser behind, comes across the line, does not jump on penalties. And One Dream does manage to hold off Aralat. But penalties demote him down to P5. Aralat does take the final podium spot. And what a fantastic end to this race. Nordy managed to come back to P4 after penalties are applied. After leading the race for a number of laps after the safety car. Holding back the front two in a fantastic effort, unable to make it work. Turboswerve comes across the line on those soft compound tyres in P6. Dave Inman in P7. Dennis the Great with a fantastic substitute effort for P8 above Fiat the Feline line in P9. And weltering, it will just be left to wonder what could have been from this race. What could have been? Could hold his nerve, tuck him behind Cruiser Jenez, and not try and pull off a risky undercut. So, it's be so frustrating for the AlphaTauri driver, but will come across the line to take a point, and it will be 2 points with the fastest lap there. And we don't need to watch the final car cross the line. Let's leave him be. So there you go, Mill, your race winner at the Singapore Grand Prix. A fantastic showing for Ferrari there after an excellent battle with the McLaren of Cruiser James de Sinek and the Haas of Nordy in the final stages of this race. Congratulations to him, and thank you to the entire field for giving us an unbelievable show in these chaotic conditions around Singapore. There we go, there's a confirmation from race stewards. Mill is your race winner. Jazzy Binman takes driver of the day, climbing well in the opening stages of the race, not holding it. And there we go. A well-earned podium for the Ferrari. Aralat in that tight battle taking the third step. And of course Cruiser Jenez right alongside Mill for a long time in that final stint. leading the race for a number of laps at the start, coming off so well on those wet and intermediate tyres. Has to settle for P2, but it was a fantastic performance from the McLaren driver. And here is your final classification. As apparently the rain starts falling again, because Codemasters. Emil leads Cruiser Genes above Aurelak and Nordi, who both finished the race without penalties. Above Wandel, who only picked up 3 seconds, but below him places there. Turbo Swerve, Legendary Man, Dance the Great, Beats the Feline, and Weltering rounding out the top 10. With Martin in home, a lap down, and Opsin, Jabba, Grandpa Mats, and Rashado unable to finish the race. Fantastic performance from those drivers. And with that, I think it is time to say farewell to you now. I am well aware that we are half an hour after the start time for the Division 1 race on the F1 Racing League channel. I have to thank you so much for joining me here. And if you want to see more action, I would definitely recommend heading over there right now to see even more from the Division 1 drivers. I've been Ohe, and I will see you next time.